Hi, I'm Susan Haynes with Dance Conditioning Technique, and this is a neurological training for the core. We're going to talk about prediction and reaction timing and help you use your core in movement. Dancers do a lot of crunches and a lot of planks, but is that work really transferring into movement? We're going to talk about how we need the core to be able to predict what level of engagement the dancer needs for a challenging movement as we shift weight through space. So you're going to need a weight. This is a 5 pound dumbbell or a 2 pound weighted ball. I like the weighted balls. We are going to be swinging things around so they are easier on the floors and on toes if they happen to drop. But if you don't have one, a dumbbell will work just fine. Say anything, a light weight, 2 pounds, 3 pounds, 5 pounds will work. So have that ready and we'll get started. So the very first thing we're going to do is wake up the trunk muscles. And we're going to start on all fours. I like to do work that helps dancers understand this direct implication into movement. The crunches and planks, if you like doing these, we can build strength through these, but we don't know that this is really transferring into movement. So I'm going to help you understand how we will train the core to respond neurologically. So we're going to start on all fours, hands underneath the shoulders, and we're in a neutral spine. And the only thing we're going to start here is just a really quick, easy pickup of the arms. So we want the trunk to respond to this fast weight shift. So you're feeling it through the upper abs, upper trunk, and we're not necessarily trying to be still through the trunk. We're letting it respond. We're letting the body learn to predict what needs to be activated to support you here. We'll finish last one. And think of this as kind of our warm up. Then we're going to do the same thing with the lower body. We're just going to do a little quick leg extension. Not about how high the leg goes. It's about letting the lower trunk feel that need to stabilize as the leg goes out in space. And then we'll take last two. And then come on up into a kneeling position. And we're going to play with leaning forward. I'm rolling the pelvis over my thigh bones. And I'm letting the trunk react to that pitch forward into gravity. So I'm not trying to do this very slowly. I'm playing with the reaction timing that my body has. And then I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to do a nice lean back. So my trunk has to respond to that feedback. So I'm falling forward. I feel that reaction. And then I start to lean back and I feel that reaction. So we're waking up the trunk in terms of its reaction timing. We're interested in wiring in the appropriate response. We want the central nervous system to make the right choice at the right time for its human. So dancers ask me all the time, they say, I'm doing all this core work. I know I need to use my core when I'm dancing. And I say, yes, but it's not just as simple as a hard step is coming up, so you suck in your core and think that that's a done deal. And the dancers say, I don't know how to do this. I don't know. Do I turn it on? Do I suck in my lunch? What does this mean? And when you are moving, we're not going to stop and brace for the core unless you're about to catch someone in a partnering move or haul them overhead, or you know you have to turn on everything you've got to nail a really challenging landing. But for the most part, we're training the core reaction time. So we'll get back into our exercise. We're letting the trunk react to this movement. So I'm dropping back, creasing at the hips, and then leaning. You can add in the arms for a little more load. And then I'll add that reach forward. You are going to feel a little bit of a thigh stretch here. See if you can keep it small enough that it's about the trunk. So we're activating and letting the trunk react. Training that timing. We'll take one more. Good. And then go ahead and come on up to standing. We're going to grab the weight and we're going to start with the right foot in forward and the weight is in your left hand. And we're just going to do a really simple shift forward, letting the weight pull you a little beyond. You're going to feel that your trunk has to respond because that weight that's being swung forward is almost pulling you off balance. And you should feel the muscles in your trunk, feel your abs kick on because they're responding to that additional feedback. We can do it without the weight. There should still be a tiny bit of activation. I think dancers, especially advanced movers, it's hard to feel subtle changes when you're used to listening to the body for big changes, big results. So that adding that weight can help train that neurological response and bring awareness for the dance. Yeah. And so we can finesse this a little bit. You may have dancers, you may be a dancer who needs a little more lumbopelvic support through the lower trunk, or you may be somebody whose rib cage is all over the place and you need some more stability through the upper trunk. And so where we swing the weight can help kick on that region a little bit more. So if you are looking for more lower ab and lumbopelvic stability, play with that. Swing to a low diagonal. And we can get a little fancy. We can swing and then test with that leg coming through. Swing and then test. So not only are we challenging it to respond, but can it also be there to stabilize? This is working that lumbopelvic stability. And then if you're interested in more of this upper trunk, upper abdominal fiber region, then we swing the weight a little higher. So where this responds, we can finesse this a little bit to individualize what is needed. So playing with swinging the weight higher and feeling your trunk react at a different spot. Yeah. And again, we can play with that stamina. So find it, test. Mhm. And then do a little check in. Hopefully, your trunk feels awake and alive and ready to support you. And you can kind of imagine as we would move through space, that reaction timing of the trunk is what we need. Again, we can build strength through crunches and planks, but we're not training that reaction or prediction timing. Yeah. So that's what we want to have. We want to have that response wired in at the appropriate level. As I said, we want your central nervous system to make the right choice at the right time. And that's the sensation when you've had someone hand you something that you thought was either a lot heavier or a lot lighter, and you grab the object and your body has already turned on all of the musculature at a level that it thought you needed to hold something really heavy. Or if you thought something was really light and your central nervous system didn't get you ready and it ended up being much heavier. So that's what we're talking about. We want to be able to train the trunk to respond and be there for you with the right choice, the right level of engagement to support the movement. So we'll shift to the other side. Left foot comes forward, the weight goes in the right hand. And you can try this without the weight at first. I'm pushing off, moving from a bent knee to a straight leg on that left side and letting my trunk react. And then it's easier to feel with that weight pulling you forward because your abs have to slow you down, helping to build awareness and helping them to respond to that slowing down the body. And I'm just swinging it wherever it wants to go. I'm not trying to get any particular region of the trunk, just trying to make sure that I'm feeling that activation and building that awareness through. So you can feel that we're partnering the front abdominal wall with the back sensors. So slowing you down and slowing you down as you move back. Yeah. So we're balancing the whole trunk there. We're going to play with lumbopelvic stability, swinging to a low diagonal, recognizing that this is going to target that response through low abs. Good. We'll take one more of those, and then we'll swing a little bit higher and notice that the upper abs are coming on, those upper fibers. Play with where you want this to go. We can also get fancy. We can swing same arm, same leg. It's going to target a little more to the obliques on that side. So it can be your next experiment. We're sticking with the high level of the swing to wake up those upper abs and trunk. Yes, really good. All right. And so hopefully all of this feels on and we haven't done a single crunch, right? Ah, and again, I'm not anti-crunch or anti-plank. I think those are great for building strength, but we need to make sure that we're training the transfer of that trunk support into movement. And so going into that neurological timing is where we need to go. I'm going to do a little pirouette prep because I think so many dancers, that is a spot where they need a little more support through the trunk. I'm going to start in a parallel position. I've got my left foot forward and I've got the weight in my left hand. And I'm going to have my left knee bent, my right leg is straight. So the very first thing I'm doing is I'm pushing up as if I were prepping to go into the turn. I start from that prep position and then I arrive. So a little bit different than our step forward. I'm coming from where I would be prepping for my parallel turn. And I'm focusing on the low abdominals supporting me. And then the next development is I can pull that right leg into the ankle. So I'm training that response, training the timing response. And I have the ball swinging this way because that's the direction of the momentum. And that's the direction that your trunk, your abdominals have to be able to resist in order to stay stable in the turn. So your momentum is going this way, and we need your abs and trunk to be able to resist that momentum, because otherwise that's just where you end up going with the turn. So now we're going to go a little bit higher, sort of in the middle of my trunk, right above the belly button, middle level. I'm noticing what that feels like. And then I can start to pull that leg in to the ankle, training that response. And then we'll go a little bit higher. These are helpful for dancers who feel like that rib cage is always on the move, always a little bit wiggly. And a lot of dancers hear the cue, Keep your ribs down, knit your ribs together. And again, yes, that can be helpful for some folks, but if we're intentionally forcing ourselves into this position, how do we move? How do we change shape? How do we let the body respond neurologically when we're imposing this external initiation for the muscles on it? So what we want to do is try to build this from the inside out versus the outside in. And that's where these exercises can be so helpful. So I've got that upper swing, playing with the upper trunk, and then we'll pull the leg into the ankle. Mm-hmm. You can go for the leg all the way up at the knee, that parallel position. And then check in. You may want to try a turn, even though we haven't done a full warm up or class, and just see what that side feels like. We prepped that resistance of the rotation. Now, see what you got. We'll trade sides. So, right foot is forward, the weight is in the right hand, and we'll start with that prep position. I'm winding up, and I'm going to go for that turn, working on low lumbopelvic stability. We can, of course, play with the direction if you're interested in the Andi Dawn turn. We can shift how we would swing the weight around. Yeah, same, I'm sorry, opposite leg and arm as we would spin in that Andi Dawn. So we're back to our en dehors, our outside turn, waking up low trunk, and then we'll pull that leg into the ankle. Mhm. Last one. And then I'll start that swing a little bit higher for the middle of my trunk. And you can start once this feels like everything's kicking on the way you want it, you can go for a faster swing. And start to pull into the ankle. There's that fast ascent into the turn. You could challenge the stamina there by holding this, finding that position and holding it a little bit longer, building that control. And then we'll go for the upper abs, upper trunk, finding that activation. We're working on the coordination and the timing from the central nervous system, training the core neurologically. Bring that leg in, go to the ankle so I'm consistent. Yes. The body has to resist the momentum of that weight. Pull it up to the knee. And again, we could work on stamina, leaving it there. Yeah, you can try a turn on that side. Again, that's the prep for the en dehors turn, the outside parallel pirouette. Training en dedans, we would go towards this. So the trunk is working. Yeah. So you can play with this direction however you need it. Or if you are a dance teacher, you're seeing students that are constantly leaning away from the leg, then maybe they need to prep with the weight on the side, right? But they're finding how do we resist and get more activation from resisting that extra weight on the side at various levels. you can play with that. That whole series works in rotation as well, shifting into a fourth, pulling into coup de pied, or prepping opposite sides to get ready for the other turn. So playing with this in external rotation as well for pirouettes at different levels. So play with this. Uh, the core reaction timing is a game changer for so many dancers because without that activation, we don't have the ability to slow ourselves down. And that's when we miss out on controlling our landings, right? That ability to decelerate and control how we're moving through space ends up being one of the prime ways that we can control our injuries or prevent injuries. So they're talking about a lot of ankle sprains happen not because the ankles are weak, but because your core and your hips can't slow you down in time. That if something happens and you go over the ankle, it's because this wasn't responding fast enough to decelerate you. And that's when we have those spills. So, really, really important to train the trunk neurologically. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that reaction idea. Um, what we hope to train is a prediction, yes, so that the central nervous system can make the right choice. That as we practice this work, letting the trunk come on, that we're helping the central nervous system predict so that it's ready a few nanoseconds before we need it to be. That that's what we want to wire in. If we're reacting, it might be a little too late. So we want to train in that prediction. And that's what all of these exercises can help you with. So I can't wait to hear how this worked for your trunk. Maybe got you some improved pirouettes. Try it in parallel, try it in rotation, try it in all the different ways that you turn out there for your variety of dance styles. And keep training smarter.